So today I want to record something about the dangers of trying to fit in with society, with the conventional ways of living your life, with people around you that aren't living life the same way as you. And we often try to suppress ourselves in order to fit in with other people, right? So I'm talking very much from my own experience here of how this has played out in me, in my own world, and realizing the consequences of it, right? I've been kind of going through an uncomfortable period and a challenging period where I haven't been feeling good physically, mentally, emotionally, and yeah, these periods can be very challenging, but they always have it's pointing to something, right? So, and often we'll only be willing to really start to transform the way we're interacting, behaving, engaging, expressing when it gets so uncomfortable to live another way. And it's like we can even realize this, but then we go back to living our old life and expressing in old ways to see just how much that can't work. And yeah, I mean, I guess what I want to say is like it's unhealthy to try to fit in. It's not worth it, right? And we can hear this message. I know this, right? I talk about this. I tell other people this. But then it's like if we put ourselves, or if the circumstances align in a way where we still feel fear of kind of expressing our truth, expressing what feels authentic, expressing without kind of filters of fear, right? Sure, there's like a line where it's like you don't need to be a spiritual dick, and like not everybody needs to talk about awakening, but it is noticing in yourself, and you can know this when you're limiting how you express what you do in order to not make other people uncomfortable, right? I do this. And one of the things to look at is we can be comfortable in this in certain situations, and then it's like you go to the next level where you find yourself in a new set of circumstances, and it's like all of a sudden like, whoa, now I'm doing that shit again, and I think one of the points is just realizing that maybe some environments don't align with you. Like that's what my realization is, to not be too hard on myself either, that I'm not going to perfectly express in all environments. So it's like realizing, when am I putting myself in situations that then realizing afterwards that's not really aligned with who I am now. Maybe a certain social gathering where you just kind of say yes to out of a feel that for me it's like a feeling that I should say yes, right? It's just like, oh, okay, I should go and engage in that, and then realizing that because of all the people there, it's just like not a good match for the way that I want to kind of be, the things I want to talk about, blah 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 blah. It's not being too hard on yourself, saying that in every single social environment you need to be authentically expressing your truth. It's also kind of having those allowing yourself to pick and choose what you want to do with your time and your energy, right? And realizing the consequences of not doing that. So for me, I'm speaking very much, well, that hand is shaky. I'm speaking very much from my direct experience recently, and pushing myself into these situations where I was just like, yeah, go out there, do this, hang out with these people, put yourself out there. And in the end, I'm just feeling absolutely drained, physically not good, nervous system fried, symptoms, health problems. And it's like, yeah, well, eventually if you take a whole look at the bigger picture, it makes sense, right? And it's like, another bit of it is like, you can't go back to your old way of being. You can't go back. And if you try, you'll see that it's just not a good match anymore. So that's like one of the themes I feel like is, so many people are trying to get their old lives back. I see it in the chronic illness space, in the, CFS, long COVID, whatever. I don't know who's watching this, but in that space, there's always this big theme of trying to get your life back. But that's not what's happening here, right? And it can be difficult, it can be challenging, but transformation is challenging. Evolution, growth, it's uncomfortable, right? But it's more uncomfortable to fight it. That's what you got to realize, I think, and you can only realize this through your direct experience, that on the other side of it, right? So maybe we start to live from fear again. That's what I can say it feels like. I can feel like when I'm living from pulling back. It's like, no, I just want to hold back a little bit here. I want to hold back a little bit here. And then it becomes like this addictive cycle where it's like, but it's always easy just to hold back a bit. It's always easy just to pull back into what fits in, right? And it seems like the easier choice in the moment, but then it builds up, and then in the end it's like, which was actually more uncomfortable? And I can say clearly from my perspective now, it's more uncomfortable to try to fit in. It's way more uncomfortable to try to kind of mold myself to the rest of society, to kind of just suppress the way that I think and feel and talk in order to not make other people uncomfortable. And it's like I think we have to, different people will experience this differently, but I can see why I had to go through this kind of phase again, where it was like, oh, okay, on the other side of it, then I'm like, that's where you have the willingness to make the decisions in the future that are more going to align, if that makes sense. Whereas in the past, it would just be like, what's the harm in doing this? And then I'll be like, okay, no, I've been down this road before. I know that I need to kind of trust my intuition, my gut, whereas I was kind of repressing that in order to like, yeah, maybe I do want to do that, even though my body's saying, no, I don't want to do that. But yeah, maybe I do want to do that. Yeah, maybe let's do this. Yeah, maybe let's do that. And then it's like, no, really trust what works for you, right? Don't feel guilty in not meeting others' expectations, right? And it doesn't have to be all the way where you become like a selfish dick. Like, you can still be kind and give space to others and all of this kind of stuff, but just realize that if you're not looking after what you want to do with your energy, if you're not kind of putting that first, then you're not going to have the energy to be there for other people, which I think is a very important lesson for myself, speaking as someone that wants to kind of not hurt other people. And but it's just like, well, giving away all of your energy leaves you not able to serve yourself or anybody. So yeah, don't try to fit in. It's sometimes only through difficult experiences that we will truly accept this. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to share, is don't try and get your old life back. Don't try and do what everybody, just to go with the crowd. And it's a balance as well. It always comes back to balance, because there has been times when life has been calling me to face responsibilities in the real world as well, right? I feel like a lot of times in kind of awakening and spiritual talk, it can be like, just do what feels easy, do what feels whatever, I don't know. And for me, that sometimes leads to avoidance. And yeah, that's just a point, is like, sometimes this means tackling real life responsibilities, right? If I'm in situations that make me uncomfortable, it's not about resisting those situations. It's about, okay, I'm in this situation, right? I'm here, and there's something to be learned here, and something needs to be addressed, and it's kind of trusting that. But then also in the long run, you can look at, okay, where am I consistently finding I'm being drained as opposed to kind of energized, and for me, it's about like carving out enough space for myself to sit in silence, to sit in nature. And if I spend too much time, online, talking to people, hanging out socially with certain groups, it's just burning me out. And but yeah, sometimes we need to tackle it's like sometimes there's no choice. We have to tackle the responsibilities of life as well. So it's about navigating all of that, right? There's no perfect way through it. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be easy. You do have to be in discomfort. But it's just like looking, where can I make changes, right? What can I control and what can't I control? Surrender to what you can't control, but be willing to make the changes that you're afraid to make, right? That's the key here, is we can often bypass things by just being like, well, I'm not in control. I just have to go with the flow. I do that. And then it's like, no, but you do have autonomy over what you do, the situations you put yourself in, So it's striking that balance. It's not about never finding yourself in difficult, uncomfortable situations. You got it to grow, to expand. You have to push those boundaries, but it's always comes back to balance, of course. So yeah, I guess that's today's message. And this is where I'm at in Bournemouth, my last day abroad, and then I'm flying back to South Africa tomorrow, which I'm quite looking forward to heading home. All right, cheers.